Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the Power Hour. I'm Mel Albin. I'm your host for today, and we have a fascinating guest for you today. A real living legend, and we're really so fortunate to have her on. We're having Miki Howard, who has done everything from recording sessions to performing to movies, and there's even a movie about her life, about herself. So she's done it all, and we're really pleased to have her, a multi-talented, multi-nominated, multi-award-winning songstress. So without any further ado, I don't want to take anybody's time. I'm going to bring on Miki. Hi,
Hi, Mi-
Miki. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Yeah. Well, we're so glad that you're here, Miki. I just told everybody a little bit about you very briefly. But what I want to do, you have such an interesting background in so many ways. It's not often that we have somebody on who comes from a musical family. So maybe we can start. At the beginning was always a good place to start about how you got involved with music, and you can talk a little bit about your parents, about um, your dad who was part of Pilgrim's Jubilee, and your mom who was part of the Caravans, and the Caravans went on to become a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band. So you were raised in the midst of music. What was it like to be a kid and have parents that were performers like that?
I tell you, I think it was the most enjoyable experience. It was quite unique, for me, but in my life, I've never seen it again. I expected when I grew up for everything to be like that. My parents hung around. All of the singers came from gospel music at that time. Everyone from the David Ruffin, the Bobby Womack's, the Theola Kilgore's. Everyone came from gospel in those days, and we were suffering a lot of civil injustice in America. So the black artists all stayed together, whether you were gospel or rock and roll or R&B. You had to stay in the same hotels. So they quite often were all hotels because you couldn't even stay in hotels, and they just had such a great time. I thought that I was gonna grow up and enjoy these fun times like I saw. The staple singers and everybody. They were always doing music. Everyone knew everyone. It was just a wonderful environment. I'm a fish out of water when I'm not around artists because
I can see that. You're really you were raised with it. It's in your blood. It's not just a career. It's more than that for you. That's quite obvious.
Mhm.
What you're talking about too is interesting because you talk about black musicians staying together because of discrimination. And Sammy Davis Jr., for example, great song and dance man. He couldn't stay in the same hotel with Frank Sinatra and the Rat Packet. And Sinatra told the hotel, you let Sammy in or we're gone. That simple. But that was part of that whole era, and that's why the churches and gospel music, it was the churches that led the civil rights movement. So that.
Excuse me. I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt.
no,
Uh,
go ahead.
my parents, being in the gospel field, certainly were in the forefront of the civil rights movement, and I was completely raised, not to say pro-black, but I was raised almost by, I don't know what you would call it, but I totally grew up in my culture, and I expected fully that my culture uh, um, would support what we did, and we had a culture then that's definitely changed now, and I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that, but that they were so certainly the forefront of the civil rights movement, certainly all the
Yeah,
way the days of the railroad, the underground railroad, and things like that. So, yeah, I was entrenched in civil rights. I everything I did was black. In my career, everything.
You know, I remember being young and reading Malcolm X's autobiography, and Malcolm talked about going to a St. Patrick's Day parade with his dad because it was a big parade, and he saw a white kid with red hair and freckles, and he had never seen a white kid because he lived within his own community. And he went over and he just wanted to touch the kid, and the kid's father pushed him away, and it just had such an impact on him, because he had never been outside of his community. So, I understand what you're talking about. It was a very tight knit community. Historic black colleges and universities were the only avenue because other schools were segregated. So, black culture was, it supported each other. It supported the music. That's where you got Motown.
It really meant something. It really did. I think I'm one of the last of the generation that was sort of raised and entrenched in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yes, I understand. In 1978, another transition happened to you. Your mom moved the family out to California, to Los Angeles, and you got your first big start in music. Why don't you talk about that a little bit and tell people how you got started?
Yeah, we actually moved to Los Angeles in 1969. Around 1976, I made my first record, or 77, with a group called the LA Boppers, which was an offshoot of another group called Side Effect. Yeah.
Okay, and what did that do for your career? What happened from there on? What happened next?
Well, I don't remember. Let me think now. I gotta go way back. I don't know. I just kept singing until they gave me money and I sang. That's it. I don't
know. Did you do any more recording? At that point.
I worked a lot with the jazz artists, Wayne Henderson, also just everybody. Wilton Felder, the whole Crusaders group. Even on individual projects, a lot with Roy Ayers. Also Billy Cobham, just a lot of jazz artists, and I sang a lot of lead songs for them, on their personal records and things like that. And then I worked with the Gap Band on some of their records, singing singing background and stuff like that.
When you sang backgrounds and you had to step out as a lead singer, did you find it a little difficult to transition?
No, I'm a terrible. Nope. Terrible.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, I have ADD. I was like, what was my
part? All right. In the 1980s, you got your record contract, your first big record contract, and you had your first big song come out, "Come and Share My Love."
Yeah.
So, talk about that part a little bit. How did that come about, and how did you get to Atlantic Records? It just didn't happen.
I had recorded with several artists. I had joined the group Side Effect and done 2 or 3 records with them. I was pretty well known throughout the industry, and I was very young still. And so when I decided to step away from singing with, at the time, Rick Dees, who was a comedy artist, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. So made a demo record, ended up signing to Atlantic Records. There was an executive, Hank Caldwell, there at the time, and he found an amazing writer, Lamel Humes, who had written "Come Share My Love" for Whitney Houston.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And I think they rejected the song, and I consequently got it, which at the time I thought it was kind of, because I'm coming from, jazz and jazz fusion and gospel. So I'm thinking, I'm looking for that Mavis Staples kind of record, what I mean? And so, or Aretha Franklin, feeling like that. And I didn't think that much of the song at the time. But once we started to record it, it was really great. And the Google Dolls, Robbie Google was the engineer on that song, on that album.
Okay, but you didn't stop there. The '80s were really a breakout period for you. You followed that up with Love Confessions,
Yes.
and and so how did you go? How did you decide on when you went from "Come Share My Love" to "Love Confessions," and it's a different kind of song. How do you? How,
I believe your music
yeah,
moves with life. I believe your
yeah,
music, and your life go together. You know what I mean? I can't live in the forever come share my love stage. And then once you have, you did, like you have the stages of grief, stages of love, and this and that. And it's just life. My life moved on to another feeling, and then I I wanted to convey those things, and that was that how my music generally does progress.
do you pick the songs, or the songs kind of pick you?
Actually, at the time, I was working with Sylvia Roan, who was a genius, with marketing and what to do with an artist and what works. And she would come, we'd sit together. She'd come with songs, and we'd pick the songs together. And it absolutely had to be mutual because my side was artistic and her side was, what do you call it? Economical.
Business. It was business. Yeah.
Yeah.
A&R is not is gone these days. People have to market themselves. It was wonderful that you grew up in that musical era when there were people that could help craft your music and help craft your image. And take the time to get the best out of you. And those days are gone. It's really kind of sad because they really used to really groom and create not just an image, but get the best out of the vocalist. And now there's nobody around now that does that anymore, unless you hook up with an A&R company separately. It's really tough now, to market yourself in music. It's changed so much. So anyway, tell me about from there. You went on to something else that now it was great because Love Confessions became a number one hit. That was your first number one, right?
Okay.
Yep. And then you went on to Love Under New Management, which was a number two.
Yeah.
So, how did it feel to suddenly put something out and bam, you're number one and number two, just like that? Did it change
And
you at all?
your number one. That was a whole machine. That was a record company doing their job, and they did an awesome job. All of the in those days, I don't know, what they have now. We had several promotions, operators in different markets, and we'd go in different markets, and they take us around to all of the stations, and we'd play the record, and we do them, things for them, and they got to know us, and they knew who they were playing. It was different then. It was different. Um, by the time my record was on the radio, I was happy. We were excited, but we also felt like we did do the work to get it there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
so, yeah,
And they put you out to tour also.
yeah, we uh, promoted our records. That's why it was important for our images to be clean and for people to want to meet you. Because that's how you got your music played. We would say, there's a saying that says, make them love you,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So where are some of the places you toured when these hits came out? Where did they send you to? Everywhere or
the same places I go all the time.
same
Most
places?
I'm an American artist, a traditional jazz and R&B singer, mostly in America. Uh, do some things. I've done Switzerland, Germany, London, Russia. I did more than anywhere. It's amazing, and places like that.
Okay. Yeah, well, this is what starts to get interesting for me. As you're doing this music, you stepped out from music and you ended up on a TV show. How did that happen?
I was on TV.
Were you?
I don't
Did,
know.
did they
Oh,
make a show? I thought they made a TV show out of Love Under New Management. Did they make a show for
oh,
you?
they made a movie.
The movie. Yeah. Okay. I apologize. Yeah. but it was wasn't it a made-for-TV movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so how did now you're acting? Was that any difference than
No,
performing?
it's just about me.
Oh, well, you weren't in there at all.
No, no, no.
Oh, I thought you had a part in there. What?
It's a biopic.
Right. Oh, okay. And you had no direct involvement.
I helped produce, but yeah, it was produced by TV1, my grandson. Yeah, and it was a movie. I wasn't like in.
Well, how'd you feel? Yeah. What did it
You gotta
impact you?
check it out. I think it's available on YouTube and Hulu or something.
Yeah, but didn't it impact you that you actually made a movie about you?
Yeah, I did. I did feel, but I felt it should be made. I did. I felt like yeah, there should be a movie.
Great. Okay. And in the movie, were you satisfied with how they portrayed you?
Yes,
Yeah. And were you there and then watching the production?
I was there, and I had lots to do with the script. The director, Christine Swanson, was a very kind woman, along with being very talented. Um, we did the best we could with what we had. How do you tell a life story in 90 minutes or whatever? You try to touch on things that may perhaps help somebody as well as entertain them. And tell the truth.
And so it was kind of a confessional. You really put yourself out there.
I have nothing to confess.
Well, you told about your life. You put your life out for everybody to see.
Because that's the thing, is that people are ashamed of things that they shouldn't be ashamed of. And people need to know that, we all go through whatever, but you can go through something and come out of it, and it doesn't, mean that you're the most terrible person in the world or anything like that, and certainly things happen to people.
Yeah. Well, look, Mickey, tell me a little bit about this. You get a number one hit. This show, this movie made about you. Where do you go from there? What were you thinking that you do to top that? How do you approach stardom like that? What do you think about? Do you remember at all how you felt and what you were thinking
Oh,
about next steps?
I think about going home and watching my one tomato grow. I grew two tomatoes. I'm like, cat dog. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about. I don't give a shit. You know, I'm
That's great. Yeah, and
I'm
some.
raised in this business, so the things that may thrill some don't thrill me. I get excited about the crowd and doing work and all that's the normal things. But what really excites me is to see a child grow into everything that they potentially can be. What really excites me is to be able to help somebody move forward and do the things that they want to do in life. That excites me. And to me, I can, my mom said, star spelled backwards is rat. You know, um, I also know that the stars fall from heaven in terms of, metaphorically otherwise. I want to be exactly who I am, and I want to give something um, good for people to listen to and feel good about and understand that wow, I'm not the only person that fell in love and then got hurt, or I all of that stuff.
Well, okay. Obviously, you always want to be you, and the fame is not something that changes you, and that's great because it's hard sometimes for some people. This. A lot of people who reach the top don't know how to deal with it, and it causes all kinds of complexity in their life, and they don't enjoy the moment. But it seems like you enjoyed it and just went with it. So
I I've learned also there is no top. There's no top. The bigger you get, the bigger you want to be. The more you
That's
get, the
great.
more you want. There's no top. So you gotta, be satisfied or happy. I'm not saying be content. There's so many things I'd like to do, and I hope I get to do them. But there's no top. You have to be happy.
Well, well, you kept moving forward. You came out with "Ain't Nobody Like You." That was another big hit you had, and then you did something really interesting. I found. I wanted to ask you about your selection. You did two covers of one of a Dinah Washington song and one of Billie Holiday. Why those two? You could have picked anybody.
As I mentioned before, I was raised in the culture to perpetuate the legacy of your of my heritage, my group. So it's been taught to us that we always sing each other's. That's part of the tradition. Dinah Washington sang Billy, and Billy sang before was the one. Gosh, my mind is like Ma Rainey and all of that. That's how
Right, right.
that's how we remember them. That's how we take something from each one and we bring it forward because nobody was everything that they wanted to be because they couldn't be at the time. But they could give us something, a leg to stand on. And that's really important to me because that was one of the reasons um, during my youth that we were dressing like, as provocatively and things like this was because we wanted to continue the class and make sure that we were represented well as singers, to continue the Diana Rosses, and that's why you had Whitney and all these things. That was important to us. It's amazing to me that in today they talk about Lizzo. She's a wonderful pop singer, and she's of a certain weight. It's amazing to me that they bash Lizzo because before Ethel Waters, if you weren't of a certain weight, they didn't consider you a good singer. Even when I came out, they didn't want to put me on the cover or anything like that. And sometimes they'd say, I don't look like I sing like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah,
different. But over the 35 years, people forget. But that is why we sing the Diana Washingtons, we sing the Billie Holidays, we sing the Abby Lincolns. We don't want them to be forgotten. I
yeah.
don't. And they
I think
wrote
it's
most of the American songbook. They wrote a
yes,
lot of, but they don't get any credit.
yes. And one of the other things I see out there today, it really impresses me. I see somebody that comes along who's been classically trained in music, like John Batiste, and he samples so much of that old music. It's so embedded in his contemporary style. He's not letting it go. He's not letting people forget this music has a heritage. And it's not just him. Also, there's been some other ones. There's some great songs like Uptown Funk that sampled so much, of the '60s and '50s. And I understand what you're saying. That music has to remain alive. It has to be always remembered because otherwise we wouldn't have the music we have today. It wouldn't be here. So
Yeah,
yeah, so I think what you're talking about is really important. It's important to keep that music going. I was just curious though. Again, I understand what you're saying, but I was curious why those two particular songs you chose. Was it were they favorites of yours for a long time, or why those two?
they speak to me, or they spoke to me at the time, and I felt I could do a good delivery.
Terrific. All right. Okay. Well, the Billy cover song kind of changed your life because so much came out of that song, afterwards. Um, why don't you talk about that? There was after you did the Billie Holiday song. Um, what happened? I mean, there was you got some other opportunities. You remember?
Oh well, yeah, I was in. Malcolm X, the movie, and I got a chance to do, Mickey sings Billy, a whole CD or record of Billie Holiday songs, produced by my good friend Lamel Humes, and oh my gosh, I forgot the other guy's name. Oh well.
Well, I've listened to so much of your music, but the Billie Holiday tracks that you did, I still play very often. I mean, I love those songs. Those are just, to me, they're classics, and you just did a remarkable job with those. It was just wonderful. So anyway, let's continue a little bit further. You started to put out two more albums in 1996 and 97, and then you took a break for 4 years. You didn't do any recording. What happened?
I was tired.
It's that simple, huh?
I've been singing since I was 16 years old in real life, and then real life, struck. Got married, had babies, life went crazy, got divorced, so life hit.
So you took 4 years, and during the 4 years, you didn't do anything with your music at all. You just really stayed away from it.
Probably. Pretty much.
You didn't miss it.
Just the way that my life is, I was always around it. It's just that I couldn't participate like I wanted to.
Okay. Well, after the 4 years, you went ahead and did another. You started recording again. So what motivated you to come out of that period and start to create some more music?
I was probably broke.
you have some simple answers to things that are so obvious.
What is it I do again? Oh, okay.
I remember about 10 years ago watching Billy Joel on David Letterman, and he was talking about how he's writing classical music. And David Letterman said to him, "Oh, I guess you don't need the money." Yeah. So, I guess you decided you needed the money, so you went back and started recording. Well, then you put out Three Wishes in 2001, and that got tremendous critical acclaim, and you got your first Grammy nomination.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Uh, when you're coming out of those 4 year period and you're working on Three Wishes, who was working with you on the music at that time?
Several different people. I don't really remember. I don't really remember. I remember there were people I never met before. I just walked in and we did a session or this or that.
Really?
I also did one with the Yellow Jackets, which was, I remember that, and they were really great. I love that song, "Kiss of a Stranger." I'm gonna be doing it this year on the tour that we're doing for City Winery. I'll be doing that song from the Yellow Jackets. So I don't really remember a lot about that.
Did you ever have a favorite studio band, or was it always changing?
It depended on the producer. I really always I enjoy working with the best of anybody. They're great. I don't have a lot of conversation for musicians and stuff like that because we always misunderstand each other. Yeah, because I'm like pretty blunt, and I have kids. I have sons that are 6'2", so I don't, like I'm not intimidated by men, and I may walk up to them and just say, "What are you playing?" And they get like, okay, oh wow, it's like, oh my god, So I don't really interact with a lot of, with the musicians and stuff like that. I come in, I do my job. I want to go home. I want to cook some chicken. I want to go shopping. I want to have eat. I want to go meet my fans. I don't like just spending my time with, people that I work with. I just like to work with them and then go home.
So you really try to keep your career separate from your personal life. You want to have your own space. It seems. Is that how you kind of approached it?
Absolutely, because other than that, you end up believing the hype. Certainly, I'm of a certain age. I believed the hype before. You know what I mean? And when you do, it's like, wait a minute, you mean it's not true? It's not true. No. So you gotta can't, that you get the same person on stage. It's all me. But there is a definite demarcation line, once it's over.
That's interesting because a lot of artists aren't like you that way. They live in their career, and you seem to live outside of it in a way that keeps you kind of fresh and excited, but enough distance so you can have a life of your own. And it's not typical. It's admirable, and I bet it's difficult to do sometimes to get that space, isn't it?
Only if you meet people that say, oh, they meet Mickey Howard, and they have an idea in their head who they're meeting. That's when it's difficult because then you go, listen, I can't live up to your expectations, or I'm way beyond your expectations. Either that's when it's like that, it's a little bit difficult. But in any other way, it's okay. It's I'm happy.
That's great. That's the most important thing, really. You know, one of the things you did also, I said I love the Billie Holiday album. I love that one. And then you did another one I really loved, Pillow Talk, and that was all covers. Yeah. So how did you select those songs on Pillow Talk? Did they just come to you in a dream, or yeah?
Those are like the record company said, like, do your favorite 70s songs. I was like, okay. I just picked the ones that I like. I wish I had done a better job on that record, but
Oh, I love it.
that's why I'm so excited that you love it. I'm like,
I love that record. Yeah. And I always look at these at song selection, and it always makes me wonder. And that's why I mentioned Macy Gray, because Macy will do an alternative song, then she'll do a blues song, then she'll do a gospel. You never know what's going to come out of her, and I always wondered, how do you think about what you're going to do next? So, on these cover songs, I know there were a lot of in the '70s, but it's just your song selection. It just fascinates me, the kinds of songs that you wanted to bring back to everybody. So I love that. I love that CD. I love that album.
that's so cool because those were my favorite ones.
Yeah. And those songs influenced you as you went forward from the '70s. Were those influential in how you evolved as an artist?
Oh yeah, they were the songs I listened to, and you know, grew up with in school, and the artists that made impact on me, like Felipe Wynn. I don't get to talk about artists like that, but he made a great impact on me.
Did you get to meet any of these artists that you
Absolutely,
covered?
absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
and what?
I grew up, like I said, totally in the art, and especially in the musical arts, and I fully expected to grow up and be an adult and have all the same situations, but it didn't happen like that. Life is totally different than it was when I was growing up, and I really I miss that, and I don't like that part.
You do? Yeah. Okay. Well, when you these artists heard you record their music, did they contact you and tell you, "I'm telling you what a great job you did"? Did they tell you too?
Well, I'll tell you, the man that wrote This Bitter Earth, Clyde Otis, called me at the label, and got in touch, and we got to be really good friends before he passed away. And he said that he loved the record, and I sang it just the way he had written it, because I added a bridge or something in there, and he said originally that bridge he had put in there, but Diana Washington had taken it out. Are you there?
You put it back,
Okay.
and you put it
Yeah,
back,
and
right?
yeah, she had taken it out when she recorded it, but I didn't know. Nobody knew. It just sounded like it needed a bridge. It needed to repeat that thing right there. So I said, let's do that. Put that thing in here. So he called
Wow. Wow.
and said, he said that was the way he had originally written it, and it was like, so we became very good friends. He and I, and his family, his son Isidro. They ran his publishing company, and James Brown called. he liked the song "Ain't Nobody Like You." Stevie Wonder called when "Come Share My Love" came out. He called to just say how much he loved it. Etta James called me.
Oh, I
Uh,
love that.
yeah, and even Patti LaBelle, she's called in recent times, like the last few months. Got a chance to talk to her, and she just, I like what you're doing. You're looking good. Encouraging, just very encouraging. So
Oh,
I guess, yeah, I've talked to lots and lots of artists
that's
about
great.
that I got a chance to make. That is great, right? That's the
It's fabulous. That's what it's about, you know. I mean, and I love. I'd rather go blind. I love it. Etta is just one of my favorites. You know, I just love her. I love her songs. I I I found blues and rock and roll and R&B when I was 10 years old by accident. A friend's father took me to the Apollo Theater to see the great rock and roll show that Jerry Lee Lewis, who just passed away, played at, and the, Buddy Holly and the Crickets, the Big Bopper, and of course Chuck Berry, Johnny B. Good, and
yeah.
I was there for that. I was there for that show, and I saw all these guys. It changed my life. It just totally transformed. I was just so connected to that music for the rest of my life, and that's why I have this station, I have this show, and getting to talk to people like you, it's just so interesting and rewarding for me. And I'm sure everybody who's listening in, gets to see a side of you, like you said before. They look at Mickey Howard, the artist, and they don't get beyond that sometimes. But now, the way you're talking to people, they can really see who you are, and I think it's just another side of you that is important for people to understand when they look at your music and listen to your music. So, I got a couple more questions for you before we wrap up today. I want to talk about Unsung. Um, how did Unsung come about? If you got the highest rating of your segment of any of those shows that year.
Okay, I have to get
How
the.
did that?
They called me and asked me to do it.
They
Like,
called you and asked you to, and you just said sure, no problem.
I said, okay, okay, happy to do it.
And was it a different experience for you? Completely different, or
Will you please stop? That's my grandson. It was a good experience. It was it's hard to say because of course it was great. It was good, but people pick and choose what they want to what they want to say, what they want to talk about. Um, I won't say it had no disappointments, but they didn't want to. People don't want to talk about everything. They want to take one thing and say, "What happened to you? Why are you unsung?" And it's not a one thing situation. You know,
right?
it, it's a thing. And we'll talk about the part where you were violent or something like that. They don't talk about the sexual harassment. They don't talk about that. They don't want to talk about the prejudice. Oh yeah, it was the white and it was this or and nothing like that. They don't want to talk about that at that time. Since then, lots of it has come out. People are talking about these things more, but most definitely they played a role in me backing up and the career change.
Were you comfortable with that? They're kind of squeezing you into a narrow perspective. Were you comfortable?
I believe in planting seeds. You know, if you start there, doesn't mean that's all. We can expand on it later. If that's the start, well, I'll take the start.
Okay, all right. Well, it's not. It's good to hear. Some of the things that you wanted to be in unsung for commercial purposes. They didn't want to talk about. And so when people see it, I've seen the segment, and now that I'm talking to you, the segment it doesn't completely reflect who you are and how you're on the show tonight and the things that you want to talk about. It kind of has a it's just a narrower vision of what Mickey Howard is.
Yeah, I mean, people love to perpetuate, sensationalism or some weird rumors or this and stuff, like weird stuff. And it's just like crazy. I don't get old and have four grandchildren, and I'm decent, and I'm like happy with my life, man. And you can't do that and be all of those abominable things that people like to heap on you. But I
Yeah,
am a firm believer. People accuse you of the things they do, you know.
that's right. That's it. That's well put. You're definitely right about that. So tell me about you right now, this minute. What are your plans over the next 5 years for music? Are you going to keep doing the R&B? Are you going to do more straight ahead jazz? Or what are you thinking about as you go forward?
Right now, I just finished my new well, I don't know what you call it now. My new recording.
LP, yeah,
Yeah,
LPs.
LP. Finished. It's a tribute to Abby Lincoln. It's not all Abby Lincoln songs, but there are several Abby Lincoln's written, songs that particularly speak to my heart, and I think the generations today need to hear. It's really beautiful record. I just finished it, and it has some new songs, and there's one in particular that that is really really my favorite, and I can't wait for you all to hear it. And it's just a really heartfelt, heartwarming record. That's all I can do. I can't do any long term goals because I don't really know, about making more music. Music is, you know, it's so difficult to make music now, and I spend my own money, and it's more difficult to get money because I don't know why it is, but anyway, it's just it's hard. It's just hard, and
Yeah.
this record, the one before that I paid for myself, the Mickey Howard Live, the one before that I paid for myself, and this is probably gonna be the last one because now I'm gonna have to work toward a decent retirement, and I can't keep spending my retirement money making.
Well, I hope you keep making music, and you're absolutely right about making monetizing a career today. With streaming, I was just talking to an artist he's recorded 10 songs. He's out in L.A. and he said that he wants to make money and by having the music streamed. And I explained to him when you're a newcomer, they pay you 0.0003 cents, a 300th of a penny per song. So if you have a little luck and a million people stream, with a million streams, you'll make $30,000 on a million streams. It's almost impossible to make a decent living anymore just by selling music. You have to perform. It's just changed so much. So, tell me when your music's going to hit the stores. When will that new LP be out?
I think it should be November 22nd.
November 22nd. If you want to give me an advance tracks, if you want me to play them, I would love to play them and put them into the rotation so people can hear it and buy it.
I shall
So,
do.
maybe I'll talk with you or with Myron, and I'll start playing those tracks and featuring them because I mean
Yeah,
Abby Lincoln.
that's why I'm really making this music because everybody's seeing all of the hip hop artists and rap artists dying and getting murdered and stuff like that, and everyone talks about the music, but nobody, like when we give you alternative music to play, like music that will uplift and help us and our children, they don't play it.
No, no, like the urban music is all you can get on the station these days. That's why on Source Radio on this station we play jazz and jazz fusion 24/7. it's the place for jazz. And, so many DC and Baltimore residents are tuning in because, Howard used to play a lot of jazz and then they've kind of moved away somewhat. And so has Morgan State. Yeah, these was two stations that played a lot of jazz and they're going with the times and they're playing, more urban style music. So, it's hard, like you said, to get that music that's uplifting in front of people. It's really difficult. So,
So you
that's
haven't
what's.
single.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't catch that.
You haven't heard my new single.
No, I haven't yet. I want to.
What's your email?
You can send it to the station, info@source, SORC radio.com.
I'm gonna do that right now.
You send it to me. I'm dying to hear it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I wish I had had it in advance. So I would have played part of it tonight for everybody. So they can hear your beautiful voice.
We can send it to you right this second.
I guarantee I'll play your whole LP and it will be in the rotation. Everybody will hear your music constantly.
I hope you love it. Really done.
Oh, I know I will.
And the musicians are so fantastic. They're all under 30 years old.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And they're killing. It's so good. I'm happy for them.
Wonderful. Well, look, Miki, it was a pleasure having you on tonight. I'm so thankful that I'm able to have you featured on the Power Hour. You've contributed so much to people's joy and music, and you're going to continue to do that. And your new LP that's out, coming out in a few days. And what's the name of the LP?
Mija, sister.
Okay. Well, everybody, take note, and you can tune into Source Radio. We'll be playing Miki's music. A new LP coming out in a couple of weeks. So everybody, stay tuned.
And
again,
Instagram.
Let me just put something up on the screen here for everybody to see. If they want to get in contact or want to hear Miki's music, you can go to YouTube, and this will be featured on the radio station. You can come and see this contact slide. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the different places where Miki's music appears and Miki appears. And then we also have TV One's Unsung and the new management, another TV One Lifetime movie network premiere. So, we have all this. A lot of this will be on Source, and here's the different locations, different places you can go to buy and to listen to Miki's wonderful contributions to American music. So again, Miki, I just want to pull this down and thank you so much for being part of the show. And we wish you all the best of luck and looking forward to more music from you in years to come.
Thank you, Mel. And thanks everyone for tuning in with us tonight.
Well, you have a wonderful night. Good night, Miki.